Welcome to PhD&D on YouTube. This is Moving Forth, making a better 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons. This question answering is from Darth Slightness. Yeah, I butchered that hardcore, but brought up a good point, and one of the biggest issues with 4th edition is, he said, how do I speed up combat, or any tips for speeding up combat? Combat in 4th edition can take a significant amount of time if you don't know how to apply it. However, if you do, it can be one of the most rewarding experiences about 4th edition. If you can get a quick combat going, it's just a ton of fun. So I'm going to try to, there's tips everywhere, all over the internet, so search around, but I'm going to try to present some of the more important ones, some of the ones that my group uses that we found work really, really well with combat. So try not to make this video will not be about, how to make your combat better with role-playing and such. This is strictly be how to speed up combat in 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Number one is preparation. You've got to have everything prepared before you start. If it's something on the fly where you're gonna have to make up a monster on the fly, at least have some stat cards ready for that, or be prepared to do that. Have something ready. Don't sit there and search through your books. That not only ruins the moment, but you're already starting combat off extremely slow. Have all your monster cards ready. If you're using a grid, which usually in 4th edition most people are, if you're using a grid, have it mapped out. At least have it mapped out on graph paper behind the screen, if not already drawn on whiteboard, grid, tiles, whatever. Have all your tiles ready if you're using those dungeon tiles. So preparation is huge for that. To get combat sped up, it starts at the beginning. You need to get that combat rolling, get the feeling of this encounter fast, quick, get everybody up, standing up, ready to go. And that's a big thing, stand up at the table. Have everyone just ready to go. Where I'm going with this is initiative. Initiative can bog down combat. You're getting so pumped up to get into combat encounter, and there's this big build up, all of a sudden, boom, roll initiative, the famous words. And then there's this delay where we waste so much time going over initiative, who's got it, what's your number, No, that kills it as well, and it starts the encounter off slow. So how do you think the rest of it's going to go? First of all, every monster in this encounter, if this is a planned encounter, or you've prepared, whatever monsters you have prepared to use that night, whether it's they might use it, they might not, or they're definitely going to fight these, pre-roll every initiative before the night starts. That's what I do. I'll have an index card, and it'll have the monster, and it will have their initiative. It'll actually list all the monsters I plan for that encounter, or for an encounter if they do this. I'm strictly not trying to railroad that way, but then I have pre-rolled each of their initiatives before the night even starts, so that whichever manner you use to track initiative, you don't have to do anything. You're prepared. You can get the minis on the table, which is another thing. Have the minis set aside. Don't just go through your collection right when you get to a fight. But you can take the time while everyone else is getting their initiative ready to set up the battle grid, do whatever. Any last minute little preparations you need to do, that's your time to do it. So, as far as tracking initiative, you can use index cards, just hang them off of your Dungeon Master screen if you're doing that. I've seen people do that. But if you really want to speed it up and you're just kind of getting into this habit of making your game that much better, dish it off to somebody else. Have somebody else track initiative. Have a little whiteboard, have them do it on a piece of paper, but immediately once the encounter starts, give them the initiative of the monsters they're facing that you've pre-rolled, and then have them get it from everyone else. That takes it off your shoulders. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to sit there and go through it. But tell them, speed it up. You're the DM. You take control of that table and tell them to hurry things up and get it going. And maybe if the monster's got an extremely high initiative and he's going to be first, maybe start that attack coming in. Start describing what these monsters are doing coming into this fight as everyone's rolling their initiatives, because they're freaking out now. They got monsters charging at them. They're going to quickly roll their initiative so they can get ready to fight. So it all starts at the beginning. As you're going through initiative order, it can help if you've got a couple players in a row to announce who's on deck. That way you don't get to somebody and they're like, oh, whoa, I don't know what I'm going to do, and they look through all their papers. That's a huge, huge waste of time. So say so-and-so's up, you're up next, and point to them. And that can take a lot of pressure off of them and make it a lot quicker. I also have a 7-second rule with my game. If you don't announce what you're going to do and basically get your roll on the table within 7 seconds, you automatically delay and you don't get to do anything that round. The minute the DM opens his mouth to announce that, it's already too late for that person to spout something out last minute. So you can encourage new players by saying, if they're super, super confused with everything, and it's kind of a smart-ass technique, but it can work, where you just say, you can always do a basic melee. Just something like that. Just get them feeling like, just pick something at that point. Help them out if you need to. Run through character sheets beforehand if you need to. But I give 7 seconds. If you don't announce it by then, you miss out. That's your fault. You don't know your character well enough. You didn't prepare to come into this game. You're going to be penalized in that manner. That just keeps combat going. And once I started that rule, I haven't had to use it one time in my 4th edition campaign. I'm dead serious. Never had to use it once they knew the consequence of waiting. Another thing is damage, which you hear all the time. You can double their damage output or max damage from all monster attacks and cut their hit points in half. That's a very easy way to make an encounter a lot quicker. Cut the damage they can take in half and double the damage they're dealing. So that can work. I tend to do that if the battle is feeling like it's dragging on. Then I'll kick that in. Like the monster just goes into a frenzy. They're swinging, they're going everywhere, they're dealing way more damage, but they're exposing themselves to be easier to hit and to take more damage at the same time. So in 4th edition, with elite monsters, elites are obviously an elite form of whatever type of monster that is. If you're having trouble with encounters running too long and too slow, just don't use elites. They've got so much extra crap on there. If you're not prepared and not prepared to know exactly what they're going to do, just can them. Don't use an elite. They can take up way too much time. With all monsters, know their tactics. Know what they're going to do. Put it, once again, the magic index card is one of your best bets as a tool in D&D. Put the monster name. Maybe that's where you put his initiative. And also put their tactics. This guy is going to go after leaders. This guy is going to go after any magic user. This guy is going to stay, one-on-one. He's going to try to stay away from a crowd. Just know what they're going to do so that you can play that out. You don't have to sit and read through it. You can hang it on your screen, but you're going to know it after about the first round, and you don't have to refer back to it. Know the tactics. Cut out elites. Another one is, for my guys, if a lot, 4th edition's got all sorts of little status effects, interrupts, all kinds of things. So we have a rule called after the fact is too late. That means in my group, if the Dungeon Master has, acknowledged that their turn is over, a player's turn is over, and they're moving on. So let's say the wizard, he does, magic missile, use something simple. The minute the Dungeon Master kind of describes that and is moving on to the next thing, it's too late for that wizard to say, oh, by the way, my magic missile has this ongoing damage with it. If they didn't take the time to describe that during their turn, it's too late. It's not so much just to penalize them, but it's just to keep combat moving. Because if you stall and write all these things down, it gets that much worse. So after the fact, too late. Make sure they know their powers. They say everything right up front. Environmental damage can really push a party, push their limits. And by that I mean I had an underground party. Our party was in the Underdark fighting, and they're in this giant room full of these poisonous mushrooms, and they were just spouting poison into the air. And each round, the poison increased by 10, the poison damage that they took at the start of each round. And so you can imagine 6 rounds into this is epic tier D&D, that's why they can take so much. But 6 rounds into this, you're taking 60 damage at the start of the turn. That really pressured my guys to figure out a way to end that quick. And you'd be surprised, when you push PCs, they'll find a way and they will end that fight quickly and get out of there. So environmental damage that can slowly build up is kind of an extra stressor to push them to speed it up themselves. They realize we can't be in here forever, we're going to die. So another classic one is rooms filling up with water, that type of thing. They're going to try to figure something out a lot quicker with that threat coming in. So add some type of environmental damage that will speed up the combat. And then a great one of the best things that I've done to speed up combat is, if I can find it here, in my adventure building workbook thing that I made. I've got a table from Chris Perkins at Wizards that he posted, and just send me a message on YouTube if you want the link to that, and I'll send it to you. But basically there's this damage table where he was sick of rolling extra die. He was sick of this monster using 5d12 for damage, this monster 3d8. You know, you're sitting back behind the screen trying to find the right die, and that adds extra time, which can take away from role playing, take away from the fun. So he made a table which is going to average out damage based on the level, based on the type of monster, and then it's going to give that damage in each kind of die. So basically, I'm to the point where for any single monster, whether it be brute, non-brute, you know, an at-will power, some special power for a monster, more powerful one, I literally, to this point, I use 2d6. 2d6 for every monster, every attack, but based on the type of monster or type of attack, the modifier is different, and it will come out to be right in the range of what it would have been anyways with 5d12, 3d8, whatever the case. I just have got 2d6 and a d20 sitting there, and that's 99% of what I use right there. That takes so much time out of combat. It's so much quicker when I can toss down 2d6. I know the modifier. Very simple addition right there. So using less die, finding a way to do that, less dice on that. And again, message me if you want a link to where you can find that. That kind of leads into math issues. I said right there, it creates very easy math. But for some people, math is a difficult thing. Even addition, subtraction, that some people find extremely easy, some people find it extremely hard, and you just can't help that. I've got a player similar to that, and he's not bad at it. Just he can't do it quickly. That's not a problem. Math, once again, math's not a race. We're trying to speed something up here, so I'm going to tell you how you can help him out. But one thing you can do, I'll put up a video. If you see if I can figure it out, put up a video over here, or a link to a video that Don Forgecast did that talks about an easier approach to math that can apply directly into D&D. It helped this player of mine tremendously, and it's a great video, so I'll put that link up. Check it out. But another thing you can do with math is once you deal damage to somebody, maybe it takes them a while to figure out what their hit points are. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Just kind of nod at the next person, and you know that it's their turn. They can start doing what they're doing. Just move on. If if that player, the problem player with the math, is trying to add up the damage they're dealing, just kind of lightly nod to the person whose turn it is next and tell them to start looking and go on their turn. They can add up their math while someone else is going and give it to you afterwards, and you can jot it down that way. There's no reason to wait for somebody doing their math. Let them do it, but go ahead and move on and just take the answer they give you later on. So there's some quick ways to speed up combat. It was a lot kind of thrown at you, but that's what my group uses, and it seems to work very well. There's tons of good resources on this out there. I'm sure other guys on YouTube have presented videos if they have, and if you're watching this and you've presented a way to speed up combat in 4th edition, leave it as a reply video to this one if you can, to help anyone needing to know that. Another website is slyflourish.com. He's got a very good website for 4th edition stuff. A lot of articles, and I use a lot of his advice on how to speed up combat, so check that out. But hope that helps. Thanks for watching. This has been Moving Forth with PhD&D, and I'm just continually, I've got a waiting list as far as different topics to go, and I'm just going to, one at a time, keep addressing these topics. So again, thanks for watching.